Hey y'all, welcome back to another video of mine. I think it's been a couple weeks since I posted, so here we are now. Um, yeah, today we're gonna continue the thoughts and reactions on each NBA playoff series. This video will be on the second round. Um, Dude, I had like a 19-20 minute recording that I just did, but I rewatched it and I realized I was a dumbass and I said Luca was the number one draft pick. No, he wasn't. I don't know what made me think that, but good thing I caught that because I would have looked like a fucking idiot. So, anyway, um, let me get started. We're gonna do an order of series completion just like last time. So it'd be Knicks 76ers, Thunder Lakers, Spurs Timberwolves, and Cavs Pistons. So let's get started. Um, So for the Knicks and 76ers, I won't lie. I think this is the series I've forgotten the most about just because I watched it so early on. Like I only watched the first two games of it and it was also completed the earliest, so but I'll try to get my thoughts out the way. Um I would say I am disappointed in Philly. Not in like a bad way, more as in um I expected more of them coming into the series. Like I knew they probably wouldn't win against New York, but I thought it'd be closer. 'Cause they made it really close with Boston, right? I thought they might do the same with New York, but New York's just too good. Um, I like Mike Brown. I think Mike Brown's a really good coach. My dad likes to dog on him, but I think he's a really solid coach. I mean, literally like 3 years ago, he won Coach of the Year, yeah. So, but Karl Anthony Towns played really well. He's been playing some great basketball in the playoffs. I actually don't remember too well how he played in this series at least, but um, I know he's doing really well for them, so that's good. Um, and then anybody else on the Knicks I want to give a shout out to? I guess I was unaware of OG Anunoby being injured until like recently, just because I haven't watched game three and four. I think he might have got injured like game three or something, but that could be a big factor going into the Cleveland series. But yeah, honestly though, um I think it would be so cool if the finals, even though I predicted the Thunder to win, I think it would be so cool if it were Knicks and Spurs because you get a little bit of an NBA Cup rematch. And that's pretty dope. It would especially be cool if it was like a close series and the Spurs managed to edge them out. So, yeah, because it's like payback. And honestly, if that were to happen, I think that would easily happen just because of how well Wembanyama's been playing. But more on that series later. As for the Knicks, they're playing really well. They have the most dominant point differential, or we'll say the largest point differential in NBA history when taking into account the first two rounds. They've been like really blowing out teams. Um, so I would not be surprised if they managed to make it to the finals. And that's kind of who I'm predicting now. So, and then I guess for Philly, the only other thing I want to say is I really like VJ Edgecombe. I like VJ Edgecombe and Maxi together. I hope they end up as like a duo someday once Embiid's just kind of done. Um, but yeah, that's also sad. Embiid, man. Um, I wonder how his career would play out if he was injury riddled. I think for sure he would have at least made a conference finals by now. Maybe not NBA finals, but yeah. Um, nah, I just wish better for him, especially because of how well he played in the first series when you could tell he wasn't 100%. It felt like his knees or whatever were just giving out. He was going so slow, but whatever. It's Embiid. He's unstoppable at times. Um, but I think that's really all I have to say about the first series. Um, Sorry for drinking a lot of water. I got like it's either like a sinus infection or like drainage, really bad drainage in my throat. So it just feels kind of weird. But yeah, so next would be Thunder and Lakers. For starters, man, Rui Hachimura. My God. He's been playing so well, guys. Like I honestly cannot believe it. Um I heard, I think in this postseason run, he's been shooting 50%, something like that, over 50% from three. And honestly, that is crazy. Like, dude, even if he isn't, it feels like he's shooting that. That's just how good he's been. Um, yeah, I love me some Rui. I would love, if I were like a general manager or like a coach or whatever, I would love to have him on my team. If he can remain consistent, right? Because if he doesn't, then I don't really know how much value he provides. And that's been my main gripe with him in the past. So, yeah, so Rui Hachimura, you're my favorite. You're officially my favorite player on that team now. Again. So, yeah. Also, it's, yeah, kind of like with Embiid. Um, Embiid, I think he only missed part of the series. I think he played some of the games. With Luca, he hasn't played any. I wonder how different that series would have turned out. I think the Thunder still would have won. I feel like if I were being generous, the most I would give the biggest benefit. I don't know what I'm trying to see here. Game six max. Luca would probably only be able to force a game six. I don't think they could make it to a game seven. But yeah, LeBron played well, of course. You know, I do get really annoyed when like broadcasters glaze players to death. They do that with like Wemby a lot, Shea, and LeBron, of course. But you know, at the end of the day, it's still crazy how well he's playing at like 41 years old or whatever he is. So kudos to him. Um, And then for the Thunder, dude, I am falling in love with Jared McCain. He's become one of my favorite players in the league. Not only because of his personality, just doing what he wants, being a free spirit, not caring what other people think, but also just his play on the court. I feel like he's so clutch. Just makes threes. He's like a run starter. At least from the games I watch. Once he starts making his threes, the Thunder go on these crazy runs. I could be heavily misremembering, by the way, but yeah, just feels like it to me. His aura, right? He's got so much aura. But no, not much more to comment on the Thunder. I still have them as my favorites to win the title. Um, so yeah, but let's talk about a team that the only team that I could see beating the Thunder, the Spurs, and then specifically the Spurs and Timberwolves series, right? Um, what was I gonna say? I'm gonna close my door because I think company arrived. Okay. Yeah, Spurs and Timberwolves, man. That was a good series. I think I only watched like the Minnesota games, maybe like game three or four, and then game six or something like that. Um, but you know, oh, first of all, Julius Randle, I think he was ass that entire series. Um, yeah, and it's disappointing because I remember last year's playoffs, he was actually playing really well. Um, and this year he was just dropping stinkers. So sad to see. But you know who wasn't, or at least if he did, the games I didn't watch, it was excusable. Anthony Edwards. The two games I watched, I don't remember much from the first game I watched of him. Um, or actually no, the second game. Um, but the game where he had like 16 points in the fourth quarter was absolutely crazy. That was an awesome game. Um, just being able to come back like that. Um, yeah, dude. He's incredibly clutch, if I'm being honest. Although this could also be because of his injuries, but I do really miss physical Ant. I would love it when he would just dunk on anyone, it felt like. Um, I understand why he's not doing it anymore. He's kind of becoming more of a perimeter player now, which is good for, his game. But yeah, Anthony Edwards is playing well. Is there anyone else I thought played like super well that I can remember? I'm sure there is, but nothing comes to mind right now. But for the Spurs, first of all, Wembanyama. Um, I feel like they would have gentlemen swept the Timberwolves if Wembanyama didn't get ejected in that game 4 or whatever for elbowing Nas Reed, which he rightfully should have been suspended, right? Or not suspended, ejected. Um, and I think it's cool too because it shows that no player, no matter how good you are, gets preferential treatment, or at least this instance was an example of that. You get ejected even if you're like the GOAT or not quite yet, but someday. Um, yeah, but anyway, Wembanyama was insane, obviously. He had 12 blocks that game 1. I'm pretty sure at least. I remember he was blocking it a shit ton. Um, so yeah, man. Um, oh, now I think about it. I think I did. No, the two games I watched, I think it was game 4 and game 1 because I had to rewatch some games just because I couldn't stay up late like that. But yeah, anyway, that was the game I watched, I'm pretty sure. Game 1 for sure. So I did watch one in San Antonio. So I lied to you all. Sorry. But yeah, Wembanyama was insane. And also, I want to give a shout out to Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper, especially Dylan Harper, dude. It's amazing how well he is around the rim. Just can make, he feels automatic. Just somehow makes it every time it feels. Um, Dude, just so good. I wonder how and who he'll develop into years to come. So yeah. And then Stephon Castle. Yeah, there's a trend with this video. I really like um rookies and second year players who step up. Those two guys plus Jared McCain are examples of that. Stephon Castle's cool because he's like an athletic point guard. I love that archetype. But he's also like a traditional point guard in a lot of ways too. At least I think so. So yeah, shout out to those two. They got a really good young team going for them. The Spurs do. And I wonder if that'll be a trend in the future. Just like really young, talented teams winning the title, because of like contracts and just you know things changing. That'd be interesting. But yeah, I think I'm done talking about that series. Let's talk about the final one. I think I have the most to talk about with this one. At least in my last take I did. The Cavs versus Pistons. First of all, very happy for my mom. She's a huge Cavs fan. And this conference finals coming up will be mom versus dad, basically, um, for the teams, right? Um, Literally every team that my family likes, besides my own team, made the conference finals because my sister likes the Thunder. So maybe I should switch to being a Spurs fan. I wouldn't mind that, but at the same time, I would. I don't know how I feel about switching teams, but I do really like the Spurs. But anyway, enough bandwagon talk. Yeah, this series was easily the most interesting and weird. For starters, Detroit clearly had a ton of weaknesses that just wouldn't fix itself during the playoffs. The main thing, I think, scoring. Cade Cunningham can score and Tobias Harris can score. If those two aren't scoring, the Pistons, they can't do anything. You know what I mean? That's what happened in that game 7. Nobody played good, obviously. Nobody was scoring, so at least like high volume, high amount. So they just, yeah, they just lost. Um, But yeah, that and also Jalen Duren. I'm gonna blame him too. Unfortunately, I just don't know what happened. This whole playoff series, he's only like the highest he ever got in a game was he did it twice to be fair. 15 points. That was literally the highest. And his regular season average was 19 and a half. That is unbelievable. You are not getting that max contract, buddy. But I do wonder where he would go to. Um, yeah, that is interesting. But I feel like he could be a solid backup center. Or a starter if he figures out how to play in the playoffs. But anyway, yeah. Also, Asar Thompson. I do really like him still. I like both the Thompson twins, but he just had like a bad attitude this series. You know what I mean? Especially like the last two games. I felt like he was just getting into a lot of trouble. I don't know how I feel about that, but I guess the last player I'll mention is Cade Cunningham. Yeah, I'll mention one more, but yeah, Cade Cunningham. Obviously he's a really good player. I'd say his only major weakness would be turnovers. I feel like if he fixed that, that would help his game a lot more. But you can always point out weaknesses to any player. But yeah, Cade Cunningham, I would love to have him on my team. I feel like he is good enough and will be good enough someday where if he's surrounded with a good enough team, he could win a title as like the number one option. Nowadays I can't say that about a lot of players. And also throughout history, you can't say that a lot about a lot of players, but I think with Cade Cunningham you certainly can. Um, but yeah, the last player I'll mention is Duncan Robinson. Um, Duncan Robinson just felt very consistent. Even in that last game where everyone played like shit, Duncan Robinson probably played the best. But it was funny because it was like a broadcaster curse or whatever. The guy was like, I don't, I don't remember who it was, but they were saying, oh, really, um, the only player playing well on this Pistons team right now is Duncan Robinson. And like immediately after he says that, he turns the ball over. I thought that was funny. But yeah, so shout out to Duncan Robinson. I would love to have him on my team. I feel like he would contribute pretty well. He was on those good Miami Heat teams, I believe. Um, so yeah. Um, but sorry. I was just thinking. Um, Yeah, let's talk about the Cavs now. For starters, Donovan Mitchell, playoff riser. I know he had some stinkers, I think, but overall, just um, ups his game in the playoffs significantly. I think that's awesome. And yeah, but there is a weird effect sometimes. I feel like he's one of those players where at times, if he's having a really good game, for some reason his team doesn't do well. So like last season, the regular season at least, they had that 64 and 18 season. I think that was like his lowest point average since like rookie sophomore season or something. So I don't know. His teams do better when, um, or at least it seems they do better when he's scoring less. Which is funny, but not this time. I feel like those points really didn't matter, obviously. Um, but you know who else though? He actually exemplifies this way more. Jared Allen. He's the other way around. When Jared Allen scores a ton of points, I feel like the team does really well. In that game seven, he scored a bunch of points, and I think a lot of players had a really good game in that game seven. Like Sam Merrill, he went crazy, fell automatic, made any shot possible. Evan Mobley did pretty damn good. So did Donovan Mitchell, obviously, from what I remember at least. Um, I think he had that like circus shot at the logo to make it before the buzzer went off um, at halftime. So that was cool. Um, But yeah, Jared Allen though, he's quickly becoming one of my favorite players. It's for a plethora of reasons too. For starters, his jersey number 31. That's my favorite number. I think that's really cool. Also, he's got a unique little thing at home games where when he scores, the Zelda jingle plays. Um, he's a gamer, man. He's a big Zelda fan. I think he's also a Pokemon fan too. So he's a gamer. I fuck with that. And I also like how unique that jingle is because I can't think of any other player who has something like that. Let me know if you guys can think of one, but yeah. And he's just, I mean, I don't know him personally, but he just seems like a good dude, and that's cool. And plus, he also had a little redemption because the lights weren't too bright this time around, you know. Um, I forget which playoff series he said that. I think it might have been last year against the Pacers when they got defeated. But yeah, and I think that's all I want to say. Um, yeah. All right. Let me put my hoodie up for no reason, and see y'all later. Have a good day. Bye.